Today on Unity Motorsports Garage, we're going to talk about, can you have too much power? Stay tuned. So I'm out here cleaning the garage up since Casper is over at Joe Davis's shop, and it got me thinking about some of the comments that we actually seen on his Project Sleeper videos. And one of them being is like, well, we expect way more power than that. And so I want to dive into, can you have too much power and don't fall into the YouTube trap? What do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty simple. Today on YouTube, it is very easy to get caught into the jaded horsepower number. Okay? Everything has to make 4-digit horsepower levels, and if you don't make that, you suck. And that is not true. Case in point, let's go back and let's talk about Project Sleeper, and then we'll talk about Casper as well. So Project Sleeper is a very mundane Chevelle, okay? 700 R4, yes, it does have a 12-bolt rear, but the one cool thing that Joe wanted to maintain with his car is almost stock-like drivability. And that car even has R12 running through its veins through the AC system, which I think is pretty freaking cool. So that meant having an engine combination that wasn't very rowdy, but we wanted it to deliver rowdy results when the time came. Because we could have easily made that engine go well over 600 horsepower, but the problem is the rest of the car would not be prepared for it. That 700 R4, well, it wouldn't take it long before it would be out to lunch, much like my C4 in Casper. You follow my drift? So there comes a point to where when it comes making power, you can actually overpower the chassis that you actually have. Something to think about. When I went to go pick up the Casper-matic transmission at John Cope's place, I actually rode around with him in his Power Wagon. And I made the comment in the video that not every car has to be a race car. And that holds true for me today. Back in my early 20s, everything that I touched had to be a race car. It's just the way it was, okay? But as I've gotten older, I've gotten to appreciate other things other than just race cars. You know, certain cars can be modified to go to the racetrack, and there's certain cars that you do not touch. They're too valuable to ruin just to take to the drag strip and race. I know that there will be certain people who disagree with me on this, and that is okay. This is just my opinion. But when it comes to making horsepower, in this day and time, we are actually blessed. I would actually consider this the heyday of the muscle car era. Why do I say that? It is so easy to make horsepower today compared to what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, even 10 years ago, for that fact. But regardless, you know, you can pick up a catalog today and pick out the parts, and you can have 500, 600, 700 horsepower quite easy. And it leads me to another topic. NA engine builds versus power adders. Power adders have pretty much put the nail in the coffin when it comes to naturally aspirated builds. I talked about this on a live chat with Dallas Brown last week, as a matter of fact. Power adders make making horsepower and torque so easy these days, it makes people question whether or not they even have to build a high performance engine to make that kind of power. You know, what I'm referring to here is you can take a Gen 3 Coyote engine, put turbos on it, make 1,000 at the rear tires without even taking the valve covers off the engine. Same way with the LT platform. And they're reliable. In years past, that was never a possibility. You were always dictated to what the engine can actually withstand. Now you actually have combinations making 3,000 horsepower, 4,000 horsepower. And while that looks really good on YouTube, no one ever goes into the nuts and bolts details about what does it take to actually make that power work for you. Because I can tell you firsthand, if you put 1,000 wheel horsepower into a car that's not set up for it, it's going to get you in trouble really quick. The car will not be able to be hooked up at the drag strip. It's just a waste of time. There's a lot of other modifications that come along with it. The transmission has to be up to snuff. The rear axle, everything about the car, the shocks, it becomes that much more important. And when you leave out that part of the equation, it doesn't matter that you're making 4-digit horsepower. You just got outran by a car that has 500-600 horsepower, and you were left at the starting line just spinning your wheels. I see it every time that I go to the drag strip. The ZL1 Camaros, GT350s, and 500s that making mega power, but yet they can't make it produce the results on the ET board. Now, there's something to be said about that when you stop and think about it. Let's take a look at Casper. With mixed up balls, it made 708 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. And I've actually seen some comments here recently talking about how the truck is slow. Well, let me ask you this. This is a serious question to you, the viewer. How fast should that truck be, considering that it's 4,180 pounds? It is still twin I-beam front suspension with stock shocks all the way around. Nothing has been done other than cow tracks to the rear end. Yes, it has upgraded strange 9-inch rear end in it. And hopefully with the Casper-Matic, it is going to be good to go. I will no longer have transmission issues. Knock on wood here, hopefully. And so what do you think the truck should run on a very perfect day on a perfect track? Tell me what you think it should run. Because if you go back to my original intent of me building that truck, it wasn't to be the fastest drag truck out there, because there's no way that it will ever be that. I wanted it to be something that I could drive around on the street, enjoy it, and go to the track and run a respectable number. Which leads me to my last point. In this day and time, what does it take at the drag strip to be considered respectable ET in mile per hour? I know when I first started going to the drag strip, in the 8th mile, if you had a 7-second car, 8-second car, that was really impressive. People didn't have cars that went into the 5s in those days. Now, I would say that you would at minimum have to have a 6-second car, 10-second quarter mile in order to be just considered on the minimum end of the scale. And once again, that is all dictated by the things that you see on YouTube. Everybody thinks, oh man, this thing's making this much power, it has to go this fast. Well, that's only if the rest of the vehicle is optimized for the amount of power that you have. Gear ratios, shock settings, and every other nut and bolt. And don't forget the weight aspect. So there's many different things to consider when it comes to, can you have too much horsepower? And the answer to that is yes. So my recommendation to you is build what you want, not what you think your neighbors think you should have, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, it's got to be you who is happy with the end result. So I hope you get something out of this little video that I put out, because I've had a lot of people asking me questions about this thing, and I've seen the comments. And not everything has to be a race car, and not every engine has to be 1,000 horsepower. So until next time, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. I will catch you later.